Let's get this thing going. I did something just the other day that I should have probably done years ago. I deleted the Facebook app from my phone. We talk about the amount of time that we waste scrolling on social media apps, and I've been guilty of making this same complaint for years now. And I, like everyone else, continued to pull out my phone and scroll on Facebook anytime there was a pause in my day to day activity. You could say I was determined to just complain about it. At the same time, I was unwilling to change anything that would actually solve the issue. Now, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over while expecting different results. I might have a master's degree in the insanity approach to self-improvement at this point in my life, but let's just stick to the Facebook story thing for now. If I redirected the amount of time I waste on social media apps, because let's face it, it's not just the book that I'm wasting my time on, and I used that time to work on this show, then you guys would be watching us on the Daily Wire app by now. I started thinking a lot about ending my social media usage the same way that, I decided to quit smoking cigarettes. I decided baby steps would probably be the best way to approach this thing. So, much like going from Newports to Marb Lights, I started by just removing the Facebook app from my home screen. Unfortunately, over the course of the next couple of weeks, I continued pulling up that Facebook app simply by searching the phone, and I'd be on there just scrolling, judging, and getting annoyed almost as quickly as before. Until it finally hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm acting like a woman here. I felt like I was in that booth at Monk's with Jerry and George when they're talking about needing to make changes in their lives. Jerry says, "We're not men." To which Costanza responds, "We're definitely not men." I'd convinced myself that I needed social media to try and help grow the show and to try and find some material to use here on the show. Instead of doing that, I would find myself resisting the urge to comment on a misinformed Trump hating post by a distant relative that was copy and pasted without ever being read. Since I've become more political on social media, I've had a few back and forths with my fair share of Facebook friends. I've been defriended, I've been blocked, and I've been laughed at. I've been called a homophobe and a bully. I've been told that a person fears for my daughter's future because of my point of view. And I've been accused of wanting to keep my wife barefoot and pregnant. Do you know what hasn't happened since I've become more vocal on Facebook? My number of followers hasn't grown and my show hasn't blown up. I'm obviously not using these apps the way I would need to use them in order to gain a following. Instead of finding videos we could use on the show, I'm on there wondering why in God's name someone would use that photo as their profile pic. We all know that these apps are addictions. Honestly, halfway through writing this monologue, I found myself taking a 5-minute break. And that 5-minute break turned into 35 minutes going through TikTok videos, followed, thankfully, by me deleting that app off my phone as well. You see, I spend a lot of time on the show pointing out the flaws of the opposite sex. It's because I feel that women have been encouraged for decades at this point to ignore their femininity in an attempt to become just like men. They've been sold a set of lies about the evils of the patriarchy by the feminist movement. What I haven't spent enough time focusing on is that the same social structure encouraging women to become more masculine is also encouraging men to become more feminine. Again, I'm willing to fall on the sword here and admit that I'm certainly not as masculine as the men that came 2 or 3 generations before me. In fact, I've been living in a world where the term toxic masculinity gets used over and over again. Let's be honest here. Anytime you hear toxic masculinity on CNN or MSNBC, they just mean masculinity. Just that, plain and simple. Men acting like men are demonized. And unfortunately, too many of us have been willing to allow that narrative to form. We've been all too happy to go Dutch on a first date because we selfishly wanted to keep more money in our own pockets. We stopped holding doors or watching our language when we're around our ladies because we figured if they don't want to act like ladies, then I guess we don't want to act like gentlemen. And I'm sure we could debate, which one came first there. It's the old chicken and the egg argument, but it's happened. To be clear, I'm generalizing here, and I also believe that our actions and attitudes have been subliminally changing over the years because of the overarching attempt to change our world from a patriarchal one into a matriarchal one. This whole thing has me thinking about that strong men. That's a tough one. Clip that one, Juice. The old strong men meme that you guys have all seen out there. You know the one. It goes, hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good men create weak men. Weak men create hard times. I think I've lived in good times all my life, and I fear that I'm either already there or on the verge of becoming a weak man. Weak men lazily scroll on Facebook, getting wrapped up in internet drama like it's the latest episode of The Jersey Shore or something. Weak men sit around in sweatpants playing video games instead of trying to make a family. Weak men encourage their girlfriends to get abortions instead of raising the children they've created. Weak men abuse and use women. They abandon the women who they impregnate. Weak men leave the success of their own life up to chance. But, as the great Billy Zane once said, a real man makes his own luck. Thankfully, Donald Trump has been leading a movement that encourages men to be strong again. That's been a key feature of the MAGA movement. And if Trump can stand up and say, fight, 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 after nearly having his brains blown off, I think the least I can do is man up and stop scrolling through Facebook. And with that being said, I do believe it's time to welcome in our good friend, Mr. Ric Flair, because it is showtime, baby. Woo!
Showtime! Woo! Woo!
Did your voice
That
crack?